Shabbat Shalom. We invite you to enter our Beit Tfilah, our Beit Keilah, our house of prayer, our community house. We invite you to shift from whatever you were doing a minute ago somewhere else and to be fully present here in this time as we try to transform this Friday night into an Erev Shabbat. I invite you to join us with your voices in song. Yada lai dai lai dai, yai lai ya lai dai. Let's try. Yada lai dai dai dai, yai yada la la la, yada lai dai dai dai, yada lai ya lai dai, yada lai dai lai dai, yai yada la la la. Try harder. Let's try to make it sound in this huge, beautiful space that is our sanctuary. Yada lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yada lai 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 lai, yai yada la la la. Now, yes, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We are welcoming this beautiful Shabbat of Parashat Be'alotcha. The Shabbat that tells us the story of how to ascend in order to light up the branches, the candles of the menorah, and to some extent also invite each one of us to ascend and to light up with Shabbat itself. It is also a wonderful Shabbat. Where is Molly? There you are. Because Molly will be ascending, coming up, not as a fire, just nothing to do with the fire, but you will ascend. You will go up to the Torah. Tomorrow you will make an aliyah, and we are so excited to witness this simcha, to experience this simcha, this joy of seeing our children becoming adults. And with that idea of Molly ascending and lighting candles, we are going to actually light Shabbat candles, not related, remember. But we are going to light Shabbat candles. We're going to invite Laura and Molly and the entire family, Butch and Mac, to lead us in the... We're inviting you. We really mean that, to lead us in the candle blessing that you can find on page 120. אשר קידשנו במצוותיו בציוונו להדליק נר של שבת. שבת שלום ומזל טוב. Shabbat shalom. We'll now turn our Sidurim to page 130 for Psalm 95. Lechu neranena. Lechu neranena. La'adonai nari haletzur. Isheinu nekatma fanav betoda. Bismirot nariado nekama fanav betoda. Bismirot nariado shiru ladonai shir hadash shiru ladonai kol שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסרו מיום ליום, ישועתו, ספרו בגויים, כבודו, בכל העמים, נפלאותיו. יאללה, 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 At the bottom of page 132, Or Zarua Lat Tzadik Ulishrei Lev Simcha. A light is sown for the righteous and for the seekers of that path of righteousness. A foundation of joy, a foundation for connection. On page 133 we say, Mizmor Shiru LaAdonai Shir Hadash Ki Niflaot Asa. Shabbat is an invitation to recognize the many wonders, the niflaot that we experience in our world, and that sometimes in our routines we don't get to stop by and acknowledge. Every Shabbat is an invitation to pause and to connect with gratitude, with those things, with those niflaot, with those wonders that bring so much depth to our lives. We are now on page 134. זמרה, זמרו לאדוני, page 135, Adonai Manach, Irgesu Amim, at the bottom of page 135, Komemu Adonai, Eloheinu v'ishtachavu la'ar kodsho ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, because this Shabbat is also sacred. And so we are on page 136 for the words of Psalm 29. We are going to use today a melody that we use less often. And it's so easy that you will be singing it in a moment. So I just want you to be mindful. We are going to be singing the first verse, and then the last one of Psalm 29. This is a Sephardic melody. מזמור לדוד, אבו לאדוני ונהלים, אבו לאדוני כבוד בעוז. Let's do it. מזמור לדוד, אבו לאדוני ונהלים, אבו לאדוני כבוד בעוז. אבו לאדוני כבוד שמו, השתחוו לאדוני בהדרת קודש. כל אדוני על המים, אל על כבוד עירים. אדוני, אדוני על מים רבים. We are going to go to the last verses. אדוני למבול ישב, וישב אדוני מלך לעולם. אדוני יוס לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו השלום. ירא לי לי לי, 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 ירא לי אדוני יוס לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. May God gives us the strength and the blessing, the power to embrace the blessing of Shalom. We'll now turn our Sidurim to page 138 for Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. lecha dodi לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. lecha dodi לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. lecha dodi לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה חג שבת תחילה, להדודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה, להדודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך ההפכה, רב לך שבט במכה וחם, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. יתפרים ימלכו מחבס, בבגדי תפארתך עמים. על יד איש בית הלחמי, קורבה אל נפשי גאלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. יתעוררי, כי יהורק קומי אורי, אורי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לי לקראת קהלה, היי פני שבת, פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקלמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמי, ואך יחסו עניי ימי ונבנתה עיר על תילה. אי לי 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 לך דודי, אי לי 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 לקראת קהלה, אי פני שבת, פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה.
והיולים שיסה שוהס העיר ורחקו, חובב עלייך יסיס עלייך אלוהי, כבשוס חתן על קהלה. אלי לך דודי, אלי לקראת קהלה, אי פני שבת, פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. אמין וזכותי פותחי, את אדוני פריתי, עלי משפט פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה. אלי לך דודי, אלי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת, פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת ועלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה שבת המלכה, אי לי 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 לך דודי, אי לי 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 לקראת קהלה, אי פני שבת, פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. Good Shabbos, everyone. We'll take a minute now that we have welcomed the Shabbos bride to acknowledge each other and to say Shabbat Shalom. Go ahead and say Good Shabbos. We'll now turn our Sidurim to page 140 for one more Shabbos song. One more Shabbos song at the bottom of page 140. Tzadik katama ifrach eretz balbanon שתולים בבית אדוני וזאת אלוהינו יפריחו עוד ינום בשיבה לשנים ורעננים ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולתה קום. We now turn our Sidurim to page 144 for Chetzi Kaddish.
V'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ba'amadira Hirutei Ve'amlich Malchutei
Bechayeho u'yomeho u'chayeteho Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala, ba'agala, u'bizman hariv.
Ve'imeru
Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevarach, Le'alam u'lam le'alam.
Yitpa'ar v'yitrama v'yitase v'yitata v'yitale v'yitala Shemei dekudesha brihu Le'ela min kol birchata reshivata
Tushbehata v'nehemata Dariram Belma
V'imeru
Amen.
We now turn our Siddurim to page 146. Please rise for Barhu.
Barechu et Adonai
You may be seated. We're on page 148. ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בדברו מעריב ערבים בחוכמה, פותח שערים. Blessed are you, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being. Please join me. Skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name, ever-living God. May you reign continually over us into eternity. Baruch, it's on evening. Baruch ata Adonai, Ama'arif, Arabim. Avat olam Beit Israel, Amcha A'avta. Everlasting love you offer your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. As we get closer to the Shema, we take a moment to invite you to close your eyes and take a moment to think about that Abat Olam, that source of eternal, everlasting love, in whatever way it is presented in your life. Some of us experience that unconditional, everlasting love through nature. For some, it might be a moment of silence, moments of connection with beloved people. Let that love, that presence surround you, embrace you, as if you were wearing a prayed shawl, a talit. And focus for a moment in your breath. Breathe mindfully. And with each breath, bring into your heart and whole body the light, the presence of that love. And as you exhale, every time you breathe out, try to recognize all the things that actually don't belong to you. The background noises, the energies that you were given that they don't actually belong into your system. Acknowledge them and let them go. I invite you to take a deep breath and to gather as many as those things as possible. And let them out. Once again, with each breath, to bring the light, the presence of that love. As we ask to become one with that love, with the creator of the universe, with the source of that love, we say, dear God, please never remove your love, your presence from us. באהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. We're on page 152. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
Page 154. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. אמת במון הכל סוד וקיים עלינו כי אדוני אלוהינו ואין זולתו, ואנחנו ישראל עמו. The bottom of page 156. When your children witness your presence, they praise your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moshe, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously. Who is like you, O God? Mi chamocha, by Elim Adonai. We are on page 158. Mi chamocha, by Elim Adonai. Mi chamocha, אדל בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים, לפני משה ומרים, צלי, אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם בהם. מה תפארת את יעקב, גלות נהיה חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Praise are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. We're on page 160 for the blessing for internal peace. Ashkivenu. Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, be'amideinu shomreinu lechaim. Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, be'amideinu shomreinu lechaim.
Ushmor
Setenu, uroenu, bechaim ושלום, מעתה ועד עולם. אשכיבנו אדוני, אלוהינו לשלום, בעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. אשכיבנו אדוני, אלוהינו לשלום, בעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. Blessed are you, Adonai. The shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over the city of Shalom, Jerusalem. And we say, Amen. We're on page 162. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ובן בני ישראל אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. לדורותם ברית עולם. page 164 for תפילת עמידה.
Adonai, Sefatai Tiftach, Ufi Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
We'll now turn our Sidurim to page 180. If you are still doing Tfilat Amidah, we encourage you to continue and join us when you are done with Tfilat Amidah. At the bottom of page 180, let's read together, Oseh Shalom Bimromav, ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן.
At this time, we take a moment to offer prayers for those who are in need of healing, those who are dealing with grief, with addiction, for you, for someone you love. So as my eyes meet yours, please feel free to add your name into this space. Scott Van Gundy, Dave Stahl, Margaret and Larry McGuan, Carol Rosenberg, Batya Peters, Rich the Bridger, Sandra Goldberger, Elise Musin, Mira Engel, Victoria Spiller, Debbie Pink, Denise Pringle, Berdine Coven, Lou Alexander Geith Levy, Judy Sutton, Ellen Kashik, Bernice Paris, Bernard Zeldow, Brant Kotowski, Howard Beckerman, Ivor Barber, Don Barnett, Orla Colgan, Mickey Edelman. You can find the words to Anna Elna, the shortest prayer that we will be reading tomorrow morning. Anna Elna, Anna Elna, Anna
In their bodies, in their souls, refuah shlema v'achlama meira, a complete recovery of body and spirit, and we say, Amen. I'm sorry, friends, for all this noise. Should be okay now. Tomorrow is supposed to be the longest day of the year. Isn't that right? Isn't that the 21st?
Today is the 21st.
So it's today. So it's today. Forgive me. Maybe my timing wasn't that good. And actually, it is pretty fitting, because actually I wanted to talk about time. One of the persistent themes in our lives is how we perceive and talk about time. And if you think that I made a statement I made by mistake, you're absolutely right. Now, we often say that we have no time, that it flew by without us noticing, and we also like to say that time heals wounds. We like to say that. We wish we had more time. We really, really like to discuss time, and I personally enjoy reflecting on it. Yet, the reality is that we don't always know how to deal with time. This week's Torah portion, Parashat Be'alotecha, offers some very valuable insights about time. The portion begins, וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל ארום, ואמרת אליו בעלותך עד נרות אל מול פני המנורה. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to Aaron and say to him, when you mount the lamps, let the 7 lamps give light at the front of the lampstand. Now, what are we talking about? We are talking about the menorah, but the description of the menorah comes one sentence later. And it says, now this is how the lampstand was made. It was hammered, work of gold, hammered from base to petal, according to the pattern, and we all kind of know the pattern of the menorah, right? You got it, good. According to the pattern that God showed to Moses was the lampstand made. Now, in our daily lives, in modern life, we don't have the menorah as a living symbol anymore. Why? And if you are in the board of directors, you know why. Because we discussed this last Wednesday. Why we don't use the menorah any longer? Well, the menorah was gone with the destruction of the first and subsequently the second temple. It belonged into the temple. Now, we created a different menorah. Initially, it was called Hanukkah menorah. In the United States, we keep calling it menorah. The name is Chanukiah, but its original name, the way Jewish law started to refer to that, was Hanukkah menorah. And the interesting thing about this is that the menorah for Hanukkah, or the, okay, I'm hoping we're going to internalize that word one day, so, is representative of the persistence of rabbinical work trying to somehow recreate our symbols and keep our traditions, and emerges from the custom of lighting the menorah or the Chanukiah every single year a connection with a tradition that goes beyond Hanukkah. It links us back all the way to the tabernacle and to the temple. And from that emerges that when time is approached with intentionality and persistence, time can be transformative and restorative. A similar thing happened immediately after that with the reminder of Passover. We are reminded in the 9th chapter of the book of Numbers that you are supposed to remember Passover in its right time. And immediately after that, we are told, and if you don't make it on time, you can, under very specific circumstances, celebrate it 30 days later. And we learn about Pesach Sheni. Molly will talk about that tomorrow. So I'll leave you that topic, Molly. Now, the reality is that according to the commentary and rabbinical tradition, the sacrifice, the Passover sacrifice, was only executed or only took place once during the 40 years that we spent at the desert. The circumstances weren't given for the people of Israel to actually do that sacrifice. And so only when Bnei Israel, when the children of Israel made it to the promised land, that custom was reestablished. Now, over time, they kept remembering, and they knew also that there was a time in which they weren't able to follow this custom. Now, it's particularly symbolic because the Passover sacrifice also goes away with the destruction of the temple. And what did we do with that? What? The Seder. So rabbinical tradition, the Jews, created the Seder and the Haggadah, the book that helps us go throughout this Seder. And once again, intentionality and persistence became transformative. The Haggadah and the Seder don't look like the Passover sacrifice, but they were nonetheless restorative. Now, I want to get back to the lamps and to their blurriness with Hanukkah. You know that the big mitzvah of Hanukkah is Pirsuma Denesa, is to advertise the miracle that happened to our people. Now, for how long are supposed to last the Hanukkah candles? Okay. Lots of numbers, and all of them have to do with time. Very confusing. I promise to try to clarify or maybe confuse you a little bit for now and ever. Now, the Hanukkah candles, not those of the Maccabees, those that you light, the colorful ones that you light at home. Well, Jewish law says that each one of them is supposed to last 30 minutes. You were so close. So each one of them is supposed to last 30 minutes. Now, some commentators will say, and maybe more because the mitzvah is to advertise the miracle. So if your candle lasts 5 hours, no, the more the merrier. But there are other commentators that say that the light is supposed to be able to last for 30 minutes, but you are not obligated to keep it lit for 30 minutes. Ha. And there is something, you can't turn it off. Now, there is something about that is interesting to me, very compelling to me, to think about the power, the possibility to do certain things, and on the other hand, to say it's not always necessary to use all of our resources to do everything we can. Sometimes, the more is not the better. Sometimes we need to aim for enough. So they need to last for at least 30 minutes. For some people, it's really nice if they last for 5 hours, but you fulfill the mitzvah if they can last for 30 minutes and they were lit for a minute. Now, I want to finish complicating your life. There's a very interesting thing that happens, and it's I want to directly quote the Hebrew, so give me 1 second. Find it in a second. Rashi explains, using the Talmud, here he is, explains using the Talmud that Be'alotcha el anerot, when you go up to light the lamps of the menorah, Rashi says, the Hebrew is very nice, כתוב בהדלקתן לשון עלייה, שצריך להדליק עד שתהיה שלהבת עולה מאליה. He quotes the Talmud and says, when you make to the lights rise, be'alotcha, not only you ascend, you make the lights to ascend. You lift up those lights because the flame rises upwards. An expression denoting ascending is used of kindling them. You are supposed to make each one of those branches ascend. And here is something mind-boggling about time, once again. You are supposed to go up first. Have you seen how children light the Hanukkah? When they get to light the Hanukkah? Number 1, number 2, number 3. It goes very, very fast, right? Because there's something very exciting about it. Now, the way in which actually is supposed to take place is you are supposed to wait until the flame ascends. And only when the flame ascends, the Kohen in this case, in the case of the menorah, and maybe us in the case of our Hanukkahs, only when the flame ascends, then you go to the next one. And here, there's another piece of commentary, which is only when it ascends is that you go to the next one, but you shouldn't stand there for any longer than the time that it takes for it to ascend. There's a very important teaching in this idea of nurturing branches, of nurturing lights, and to stick around for as long as it takes for those lights that we are nurturing to ascend. Not to throw like some nice thing and go, but rather to stick around and to make sure that they ascend. But once they have ascended, then you need to move to the next one. Your time has ended. You need to go to the next one. And I thought, and this is the last circle, I promise. And I thought about the creation of the world, right? Which starts with time. Bereshit bara Elohim. In the beginning, God created. And in that context, I thought about
the expression from Mishlei, from Proverbs. It says, Ner Yah, Ner Adonai, the light, the candle of God is the human soul. And so, Ner Yah Nishmat Adam, that's the expression in Hebrew. The candle of God is the human soul. And I was thinking about this beautiful idea of God holding to the candle and making sure that the flame ascended. And on the seventh day, once the entire world and we humans were created, then God stepped back. And this is the last quality that I wanted to share with you about time, which is that time, when we engage with time, but also when we recognize the time to step back and to let go, in that action of holding for as long as needed, but also recognizing when's the time to step back and let go, we become partners in the creation of the world and creators of our own world. So time is restorative, time is transformative. And if we find the power to nurture and to step back, then time is also a creative power that was given to us, human beings. May this Shabbat is a restorative one, a transformative one, and one that invites each one of us to participate in the worlds that we need to create. Shabbat Shalom. We'll now continue our service. And you know, all these kids coming in, that's timing, my friends. We'll continue our service because there is candy on page, and there is an ark to open on page 586 with Aleinu Leshabeach. Please rise as we open the ark. Aleinu Leshabeach, Ladon HaKol, Latet Gedula Leotzer Bereshit, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, ואנחנו קוראים
ומשתחווים ומודים
לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, עד קדוש ברוך הוא. The middle of page 590, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם בהד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד. We'll now gently close the parochet, the curtain. Friends. Ooh. It is also time to create some regulations for the candy. You may be seated. At this time of our service, we will take a moment to acknowledge mourners in our community. We'll begin by acknowledging the yortzites, and then we will acknowledge the mourners or those that are during the cycle of mourning here in the room.
We remember those who've died in this season in years past. Al Jacobs, Dorothy Levinson, Dorothy Statt, Dr. Peter Wunsch, Fernand Grossberg, Flora Rubenstein Rutman, Helene Sue Marks, Harry Epstein, Kevin Saul, Nassim Dovek, Regina Soba Leiter.
If you are during the first 7 days of morning Shiva,
Please rise and share with us who you're remembering.
Alan Auerbach, David Robbins.
If you are If you are during the cycle of the first 30 days of mourning, Shloshim, and so if you are during the first year of mourning, please rise and share with us who you are remembering.
Daniel Knight, my husband. David Sherman, my nephew. Dorothy Stapp and Flora Lee Steinbach.
Thank you, Scott.
Gary Bernstein, my husband.
If you have a yahrzeit this week, the anniversary of someone's passing by this time of the year in years past, now you can support our fellows while standing or sitting, joining us with your voices or your hearts for Kaddish Avelim, Mourner's Kaddish, on page 598. התגדל והתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דיברה חילותה, בהמליך מלכותה. בחייכון ובמכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולמי עלמיה. יתברך, בישתבח, ביתפאר, ביתרומם, ביתנשא. ביתהדר, ביתעלה, ביתהלל, שמי דקודשה, בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה. דמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, בחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. May the memories of your dear ones be always a blessing in your life. Yesichram Baruch. You may be seated.
It is our pleasure to invite up Stuart Katzman, our president-elect, soon to be our president-elect, currently our VP of Philanthropy, to share with us a few announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. On behalf of the entire board, Shabbat Shalom, and Mazel Tov to Molly and your entire family. Pretty exciting time. I'm going to give a few announcements, but as always, there's a plethora of stuff on our calendar, and you can check out the temple calendar on our website. There's a lot going on. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. is Shabbat Cafe in the foyer. All kinds of goodies out. Good time to socialize and meet with people. At 9:30 is Torah study, and at 10:30, the aforementioned Bat Mitzvah of Molly. Sunday, the 23rd, day after tomorrow, 4 p.m., our choir is performing in here. It's a concert, and they present songs about Israel from composers such as Max Janikowski, Michael Isaacson, and Naomi Shemer. And following the concert, there's going to be a reception hosted by our own Gail Long. But please RSVP so they can plan accordingly and have the right numbers. On Tuesday evenings at 7:30, there's Biet Midrash. It's a summer learning program with Rabbi Michael. These sessions focus on learning to decode the Mishnah, as well as building on Jewish literacy framework through the historical lens of the Jewish story. A knowledge of Hebrew letters and vowels is a prerequisite. And again, you can attend the whole series or one at a time. And then a week from Saturday, the names of Melanie Aaron and Michael Dine might sound familiar. Their daughter Shifra is engaged, and they invite you Shabbat morning service Saturday the 29th at 10:30 for Afruf. It's a blessing for Shifra Aaron Dine and her fiance, Dr. Mary Turcoy. Please RSVP on the website so they can also plan accordingly. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. So it's our pleasure to invite up Butch and family to come and recite or help to recite the Kiddush. You can find the Kiddush on page 122. We invite you to rise and join us. I'll give you that.
We are, the words of the Kiddush are on page 120, right?
22.
122. ויחול השמיים בארץ וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי, מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו, אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. סברי חבריי וחברותיי, and then you go.
לחיים.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו, ורצה בנו, בשבת קודשו, באהבה וברצון, הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליצירת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, אותנו קידשת מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
חיים.
So we have shared the blessing for one. We are going to share blessings with each other. We invite you to stand next to your chosen family, your friends. If you are standing alone in this night of Shabbat, to make eye contact with someone. Stand next to someone else. As we ask to share with each other. Just to share with each other blessings. The magic of Shabbat is that we actually take a moment, we pause, we step back, and we recognize the beauty of our creations, where they come in the form of our children, in the form of our friendships. We recognize the love that we are bringing into this world as a creative power, as we wish for our beloved ones to be inspired to be like the parents of the house of Israel, Yasimchem Elohim, Kefraim, Bekemenashe, Yasimchem Elohim, Kesara, Rivka, Rachel, Belea. And we say to all of them, Yevrechechem Adonai, Beish Merechem, may God bless you and protect you. Yer Adonai panav elechem bichunekem. May God's light shine upon you and may God be gracious to you. Isa Adonai panav elechem. May you find within you God's presence always. And may you find your way to come on time, to show up, to be there. And even when it's for everyone else late, may you be in time and may you find peace within that time. May God bless you with that peace, with that shalom. Ve'asem lachem shalom. Shabbat shalom. Adonai os le'amav yiten. Adonai yevarech et amo b'shalom. May God bless all its peoples with the blessing of shalom, and may God give to all of us the energy, the courage to be makers and to be embracers of the blessing of shalom. Adonai os le'amav yiten. Adonai yevarech et amo b'shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Mevorach everybody. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha Chasim Leolam.
Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha Chasim Leolam.
Ki Achayim Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom. Ki Achayim Melech Adon לכל השלום